The thing about Kmet is he's scored 3 times in the last 2 games. He's got a 15.6% target share since week 3, and this matchup against the Lions is tasty. Kids, they allow the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing tight ends, so Cole Kmet is good.
That was bad. Yeah.
Boston Monroe, dude. Let's just act like that didn't happen.
Yes.
Did these shots kick in?
Yeah.
I got you.
Did these shots just kick in? You got me to laugh?
I got you to laugh.
Yeah, I wasn't laughing with you.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Still
That's
counts.
true.
Looks the same in the box score.
That's true.
Matthew Berry, incredibly happy with yourself after. Good.
Cole Kmet is good.
Yeah.
Was I wrong? I don't believe so.
Oh boy. All right, let's talk about Cole Kmet.
Don't kaboy me.
Yeah.
Kajay.
And his 5 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks.
Welcome
all
on
of
board.
A sudden. Yeah.
Come on in, the weather's warm.
Him and Justin Fields, best QB tight end duo. Is it that or is it Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews? I'm not sure anymore.
It's a toss-up at the moment. The number 1 tight end in fantasy, so heading into Monday Night Football, is Cole freaking Kmet, and Justin Fields is the number 1 quarterback in fantasy.
Justin Fields is the
By
best
the way,
player to ever live.
Matt Ryan at number 4. Look at you, Jeff Sunday. You go. But, yeah, I mean, you know, Mahomes looks great there. Tua, obviously terrific. Ryan Tannehill at 7.
Throwing the ball to Titans. We'll get into that in the next segment.
And here we go.
Cole Kmet. Who's Travis Kelce? Never heard of him.
Yeah, exactly. My guy Dalton Schultz right there, and the island of Foster Moreau, who I know you love.
Yeah,
he's number
always.
6 there. By the way, he shouldn't even be higher because Moreau dropped a touchdown that he should have had
Bad one.
in that game. But I think the point here of us showing that graphic, other than the fact that, you know, I called it, is Justin Fields and Cole Kmet, both number 1 at the positions. And I got to be honest with you. I'm in. I buy all this stuff. I mean, listen, we've been talking about Justin Fields for weeks, like 6 weeks now, saying, like, he's a QB1, he's a QB1, QB1. I yelled at people last week saying, hey, what are all these people saying? Like, I think he's a QB1 now. He's been a QB1 for a month. He's been a QB1 for a month on the season. On the season, he's the 3rd best quarterback in fantasy football. When you think about how bad he started this season, he's been so good that he's now the 3rd best quarterback in fantasy overall. Since week 5, he's the 2nd best quarterback in fantasy on a points per game basis. I think we are seeing Lamar Jackson 2019 right now.
Yep.
That's what we're dealing with here. Yep. We are dealing with an MVP, I'm going to put your fantasy team on my back and carry you kind of season from Justin Fields.
Yes. The only issue is Lamar Jackson went 14-2 and the Bears are 3-7. But fantasy-wise, I mean, he's the number 1 quarterback.
This is a fantasy football show.
You would take him number 1, right, going forward? He's number 1 quarterback over Mahomes, Allen?
No, I'm probably still I'm still probably taking Mahomes or Allen, but I mean, maybe a little bit. But like, do you want to make a box sound of me? But what I'm saying is the fact that we're having that conversation, Jay. He's in that conversation.
He's in that.
He's 1,000%. He is in the Patrick Mahomes. Who would you rather have, Mahomes or Fields? Who would you rather have, Josh Allen or Justin Fields? He's in that conversation.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, or Justin Fields. It's a conversation, and just the fact that it's a conversation and we could have a difference of opinion there, and no one's wrong, tells you something here worth noting. Next week they play the Atlanta Falcons. You know, full steam ahead. So Kmet, I think, is more important. 5 touchdowns over the last 3 games. He's had 5 red zone targets over that stretch as well. Fields is looking for him when he's not ducking and running. He's talking about that. And I loved Cole Kmet as a sleeper in the preseason. Yeah. Then I bailed on him. But I'm back in. I'm just owning it. I did, you know, like, because the offense looked awful. But I was in on, one of the reasons I was in on him in the preseason is because super talented guy who just got really unlucky with the touchdowns last year. And we talked about the fact that, you know, his targets were there and the routes run were there, and we thought he was talented athletically, just got unlucky with the touchdowns.
Yep.
And then I bailed on him, whatever. But I'm back in, and the fact is so I think this is somewhat legitimate. His 39% target share in Week 10 is a season high. 13 targets over the last 2 weeks, given what a wasteland tight end is. I mean, this is not a fluke.
Yep. All right, let's stay in that game and go to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had season highs in catches and receiving yards, goes 10 for 119. I think he's just locked in as wide receiver 1 going forward.
Yeah, obviously. And we've talked about him a while. He was on the love list, I believe, going into this week. And, you know, like, we're in. We talked about it on Fantasy Football Pregame. We talked about him last week as well. The Sun God earns targets like nobody's business. Plays the Giants next week. Yeah, he's really great. But to me, he's not even the most interesting part of the Lions. To me, it's the running backs, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But yeah, I mean the Jamal Williams over DeAndre Swift thing is real.
Yep, we'll get into that in the next segment. Not too good for DeAndre Swift, but a happier running back situation, at least for one guy, is in Miami, where they completely lit up the Browns. As a team, they go 33 for 195 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And the biggest part of that was Jeff Wilson, who goes 119 yards and 1 touchdown. Raheem Mostert also delivers value, but Wilson's the guy that you want going forward.
Friend of the podcast, Raheem Mostert. It's weird.
Raheem.
Sorry,
Yeah,
ever since you appeared on our show, your touches keep going down.
It's Matthew Berry's fault.
It might be. Since he's gotten to Miami, Jeff Wilson Jr. has outsnapped Raheem Mostert 68 to 43. 17 rushes. He catches the 2 balls. So 19 touches for Jeff Wilson, and I think this is by design. When you think about the 12 touches that Mostert got, Mostert is somebody they like a lot, but they want to keep him healthy, and so Wilson is more than depth. I will say that I'll just own it. Coming into this week, I ranked Mostert 2 spots over Wilson, just because hey, he's the veteran. He'd been there longer and that kind of stuff. But obviously, based on this game and based on what to the eye test, what you see from both guys, and both guys are talented. But Wilson, you prefer Wilson to Mostert going forward at this point. But I do think both guys are viable because they're both getting double-digit touches in one of the best offenses in football.
Yep, it's the most explosive offense in the game right now, along with Kansas City. So yeah, you just want shares of that offense. Let's go to an offense.
Even though Wilson has outtouched Mostert has still scored each of the last 2 weeks, and as has Wilson.
Yep.
So
he's going to need more than 8 carries a game going forward, though.
1,000%. Worth noting, Dolphins on a bye this week as well, so even more time for them to get Wilson in and integrated and everything like that.
Yep. Okay, let's go to Pittsburgh, where Najee Harris, a little renaissance from him, written off. People thinking it was going to be the Jaylen Warren show, as we potentially thought it would be too. But Najee gets 20 carries, goes for 99 yards. Well, it wasn't an amazing game, but at least that he had the share of the workload, and he does get almost 5 yards per carry, which is efficiency rarely seen from Najee Harris. Jaylen Warren still gets some of the offense. He gets the receiving work with 3 catches for 40 yards, but Najee's reasserted himself as the guy that you want in that backfield.
One of the things we talked about with Mike Florio on Fantasy Football Pregame was the fact that, hey, there's definitely where there's smoke, there's fire. So there's definitely some, thoughts about, that they want to get Jaylen Warren more touches. But we also talked about the fact, is this Tomlin's way of sort of trying to motivate Najee Harris? And it sort of felt like this, right? I mean, he had 25 more rushing yards than in any other game so far this season, 20 carries, 99 rushing yards. Looked like the Najee Harris remembered somewhat, showed some burst here. They were able to move the ball effectively. Now, he didn't catch any passes. He played 60% of the snaps, which is his lowest amount since week 1, but still, maybe not using him as much keeps him a little bit fresher and he keeps him more explosive.
Sure. I think low-end RB2, high-end flex going forward. You don't love that he didn't get the receiving work, which is a big part of his game last season. Let's go to New York.
Yes, but it did seem like I do think, and we'll talk more about Warren tomorrow during the waiver wire show, but playing Cincinnati next week at home, then at Indy, at Atlanta, home to Baltimore. Not a great schedule, but yeah, so I think he's probably more of a low-end running back too, but I think that given where you were with Najee Harris, I think you actually have to be encouraged by this because just to the eye test, he looked better.
It felt like he was going on a steady decline and about to fall off a cliff, and he jumped back up onto the cliff top. All right, let's talk about the Giants, who continue their rise up the mountain, if we continue talking in the cliffs and mountains vein. And Darius Slayton was a big winner against the Texans, has one of the best touchdowns, really, of the year. I'm not sure how he turned that into a touchdown, but gets the 54-yarder into the end zone, goes 3 for 95 with that touchdown. He's sneakily been providing value the past month or so.
11.5 fantasy points in 4 of the past 5, to your point. He's had a 20% target share of that stretch. We kept thinking it was going to be Wan'Dale Robinson, and I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I really do, but he just hasn't done as much with the opportunity as Darius Slayton, who came on in his rookie year, and it's been a kind of an up and down fantasy career for Darius Slayton, but seems to have found or refound a connection in this offense with Daniel Jones. So we'll talk about him again tomorrow in the Waiver Wire Show. We talk about this a lot, but I think this is more real than not. Look, it's only 3 receptions. He's a big play dependent guy, but he has the kind of speed to be able to do that. And given how well the Giants are running the ball with Saquon and with Jones, that sets up play action, which is Slayton's a perfect guy for that.
Yep. I mean, in real time, he was like plus 900 to turn that catch into a touchdown. So if the minus 1,000 no catches, we're not talking about him today, but that is kind of his game. Let's talk about, it's been a good couple of weeks for Westbrooks because Russell Westbrook is now the favorite for Sixth Man of the Year on BetMGM. Saved his season for your Lakers.
Yeah, that's right.
And Nick Westbrook-Akine. Have I butchered that?
No, that's correct. Well done.
Yeah, Nick
finally something you said right. Yeah, Nick Westbrook.
Well, he's had a renaissance too, and he's providing value, at least he did this week, with, I mean, I'm not sure how sustainable that was, catching a touchdown off a flea flicker and getting his value that way. But, I mean, numbers don't lie. He was number 5 wide receiver in fantasy this week.
I just think it's worth noting. We'll talk about where he ranks, if at all, tomorrow on the Waiver Show. I just think he's worth noting, given the fact that we've seen this before. You know, you think about, you think about what he's done this before in previous years. Like, we've seen flashes from it. And the fact that with Ryan Tannehill under center, it seemed like they were willing to throw, which they never were with Malik Willis under center. Now, they're at the Packers this week. That's the Thursday night game. So, you know, we'll see if he gets anything done. I mean, CeeDee Lamb just had a huge game against the Packers. I think Treylon, if I'm picking a Titans wide receiver, I think I still want Treylon Burks just based on the pedigree, the upside. He ran a bunch of routes in his first game back. The box score production isn't really there, but you feel good about sort of like the amount of times he was on the field last week. But they look like a more competent offense with Ryan Tannehill under center, a more pass-friendly offense. It's always still going to be the Derrick Henry show, but they're going to pass a little bit more with Tannehill under center. And there's not a lot of other competition outside of maybe Burks. Woods hasn't done anything all year long, right? You know, every once in a while Austin Hooper pops up. But, like, I'm just saying, like, in a deep league, he's just a name to sort of keep on your radar if he can do this again. I didn't think it was worth dismissing. I didn't think it's a total fluke, I guess is my point.
Yep. No, I'm with you there. Let's go to break. Right. When we come back, we're going to talk Sunday scaries.
I just checked. I did not have Amon-Ra St. Brown on my love list this week. I had him last week. We didn't do as well. Yeah. I wanted to own that.
Did you have Christian Watson on your love list this
week? We talked about the Sun God on Sunday morning, though. I said I liked him on Sunday morning. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.